So you think that the president should not take his trip to Asia and should instead stay inside the United States for these talks?
Absolutely not. He needs to show the American people that he cares, that it's not just about tweeting some stuff about Republicans and how bad we are, that he's actually willing to sit down and work with us. Because guess what? This is a nation divided. This is a nation with $32 trillion in debt, $8 trillion of it added by Donald Trump, $4 trillion of it added by Joe Biden over the last 6 years. That's $12 trillion. It's insane to me that we are having this argument on Twitter and on the airwaves, and we need to get into a room with both sides and figure this thing out. I mean, I have a plan to balance the budget in 5 years, a bit aggressive. It's called the penny plan. But heck, I would take 20 years at this point. Just get it done.
You've said what Republicans have already passed when it came to spending cuts didn't go far enough in your view. I know a lot of lawmakers, Republicans, voted to pass that because they just wanted to get something started and for Republicans to be able to say, well, here's what we've passed. Now, what is the White House going to do here? But if Kevin McCarthy does reach a deal with President Biden, can Republicans get something that is a watered down version of something you said already didn't go far enough passed?
Right. If you look at the plan over the next 10 years, $47 trillion versus $52 trillion with a clean debt ceiling, these were very mild cuts, and they weren't going to balance the budget. They aren't going to go far enough or long enough. I think we'll have to see what that deal looks like, what's negotiated when it comes back. I'm always wanting to start from the strongest position, a position of strength, because you know that you're going to lose people or lose votes or lose different portions of a bill when it goes into the Senate or when you're negotiating with those across the aisle. And that was my concern. My concern also is that neither side's going to hold the other accountable, that we're just going to keep spending into oblivion until we're broke. And guess what? We're pretty much broke right now, which is why we need to take it seriously, which is why I would love to see a plan that balances things out in 5 years. But I would take 20. That is a huge compromise, and it can be done.
But you do believe Republicans, depending on what they come to, what agreement they could potentially come to, are prepared to get less here?
Right. And we have to be. We have to be prepared to get less. We also have to be prepared to try to figure out how we get votes from the other side. It's a very slim majority. Nobody wants to shut the government down. Nobody wants to see that happen. And, finding a way to work together. That's one of the things that the American people want from us, is even when we disagree, is finding a path forward. And we're not yet there, it doesn't seem like.
And Congressman, you know as well as I do what it would mean if the U.S. did default on its debt. As we both noted, the time, it's about 15 days away from when the Treasury Secretary is warning that could happen. Last week, I interviewed former President Trump about his position on what he believes Republicans should do here. This is what he said about the U.S. defaulting on its debt.
I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default.
The U.S. defaulting would be massively consequential for everyone in this room, for all Americans.
You don't know. It's psychological. It's really psychological more than anything else. And it could be very bad. It could be maybe nothing. Maybe you have a bad week or a bad day.
What'd you make of that?
Well, no one wants, certainly the United States, to default. And that, it's, in my opinion, is not even on the table. In terms of tax revenue, we collect annually 11 times the interest on the debt. Now, it would mean that we on the Hill and in D.C. would have to prioritize our spending. But default, in my opinion, is not on the table, should not be on the table. The consequences of that globally will be very, very negative, both here in the U.S. and abroad. But we don't have to. We don't have to unless the president wants us to. And if that were to happen, if we were to somehow not strike a deal by June 1st, then we'd have to prioritize spending. No one wants to see cuts to Social Security or vets or Medicare or Medicaid. You can avoid those things. But that means you've got to prioritize spending and put some things on the back burner if we do that.
Yeah, I think the White House has also made clear they also do not want to see a default, the nation defaults on its debts. Congressman, while we have you here, you're also a member of House Oversight. We heard from the chair of that committee, Congressman James Comer, earlier on Sunday, speaking about one of the investigations that the Oversight Committee has underway. This is what he said on Sunday.
Well, unfortunately, we can't track down the informant. We're hopeful that the informant is still there. The whistleblower knows the informant. The